Hello, in this video we're looking at learning intention number 16, and this is looking at the period and amplitude of trigonometric graphs. So if you remember from last year, the period is the length on the graph before it starts repeating, and the amplitude is the height of the graph, and this only relates to sine and cos, and the period relates to tan. So this is for our trigonometric functions. I'll start with an equation and then we'll read off the period and amplitude. So let's start with something like y equals -4 sine of 3 pi x, and the question might say, what is the amplitude and period? Alright, so the amplitude's the easy part, but it's often there's a really common mistake you can make with the amplitude. The amplitude's over here, but the amplitude is 4. It's not -4. You can't have negative amplitude. There's no such thing as that. No such thing as negative amplitude. Really important to know, because that's really common in multiple choice questions. They love asking students which one of these options is the amplitude, and I'll put a negative one there, and there's no such thing as that. You can only have positive amplitude. And then next, the period. If you remember, period is given by the formula 2 pi on n, where n is the coefficient of x. So there's the coefficient of x, so that's our n. So n's going to get subbed in here, so that's 2 pi on 3 pi. So our period is, well, the pi's cancel, our period is 2/3. There's our answer. And this all applies to the cosine function as well. So you can find the amplitude and period of the cosine function in the same way. They might give you a graph though. So another example might actually draw the graph, and it might say find the amplitude and period. So let's find the amplitude and period, but this time we're given the graph. I'm going to have to give you a graph. So this requires you to recognize shape as well. So it requires you to recognize, hang on, is this a sine or a cosine graph? So keep an eye out for that. So let's sketch our graph of our sinusoid. And a sinusoid is a sine or cosine graph. That's another word you can see used to describe it. A sine or a cosine graph, not a tan graph. Sine or cosine graph, they can be called a sinusoid, and that's how you spell it. So let's draw a sinusoid. Let's say my sinusoid looks like this. Goes down, goes, I'm going to do that again. Sinusoid. Okay, I'm going to draw this graph again. So it's going to go down, it's going to go up again, it's going to go down, it's going to go up again. Alright, remember I'm on a tablet, so you got to bear with me here. Pen and paper is far easier. Alright, there we go. So we want to know the amplitude and period of this. Alright, we have 5 on 2 there, -5 on 2 there. and I'm going to call this value here pi. Alright, well, and I'll say and state the equation. So find the amplitude and period and state the equation. Well, that's a cosine because it starts here. It's got like that bucket shape. You can remember that sine's that one, that's your sine, and cosine's that one. So we know this is a cosine because it starts here. We also know the amplitude, which is good. So we know that y equals, we can read off the amplitude, 5 on 2 cos. Now let's see, the period is pi. So how do we find the coefficient over here? Well, the period equals 2 pi on n. So let's do that separately over here. So pi equals 2 pi on n. And solving for n, we get n equals 2 pi on pi, and n equals 2. So y equals 5 on 2 cos 2x. And that's your answer. Alright, so that's how we find the period and amplitude for the sine and cosine graph. In part 2 of the same learning intention, we're going to quickly go over the tan graph. And if you have been, thank you for watching.